The Pulse the Program series heading out, really just up the road from us, out to Knoxville, Tennessee. What's the pulse for the Tennessee Vols in 2025? A lot's been going on now throughout the course of this offseason for Josh Heupel and company. Post-spring game, no Nico Iamaleava. Go get yourself a transfer portal quarterback in Joey Aguilar. Is he going to start for you? We think so. What does he have to do for Tennessee to be successful? A little preview for Tennessee in 2025 we got on deck for you. Also just kind of a pulse check for where we think they're at heading into next season. We'll unpack all that right now. Before we do that, Tennessee fans, y'all been good to us, man. I say that for a lot of these different fan bases, but Tennessee, y'all were one of the first fan bases to get dialed into this show once we got to On 3. So thank you for that. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you do that. A lot of content around your Vols headed your way. A lot more when you subscribe. We'll make sure we have the supply to meet your demand. The best way to make sure that there is demand out there for us is by y'all subscribing. So thank you for that. The pulse for Tennessee to me right now feels like there's a quiet confidence in Knoxville. Because what I said at the opening, Nico Iamaleava transfers out. Everybody knows what they lost on the offensive line in Cooper Mays and Dylan Sampson, who was your all-everything back a year ago, pretty much the bell cow of the offense. He's gone, and so I think a lot of people, as a flyover college football fan, have the take of, well, look at all the Tennessee lost. How could they run it back and be a playoff team or be a competitive team in the SEC with all that they lost from a season ago? And that's not an incorrect thought relative to the pieces they lost. It's an incomplete thought, though, because I think internally, everyone in Knoxville is saying, one, look at who we still have. We got guys y'all even talking about right now on the offensive side. Chris Brazzell, I think, is due for a pop year. I think Joey Aguilar and what he was at App State cut down on the interceptions. How good could he be? And the other thought I think you have if you're a Tennessee fan, or you should have, is confidence in your head coaches, man. Like Josh Heupel, to me, is first team all just make it work with what he's going to be charged with doing on the offensive side of the football, which is his baby. He'll call the plays, all that. You already knew that. But, like, isn't that kind of his MO since he's gotten to Knoxville? Like, nobody was talking about Jalen Hyatt before he popped on the scene and won the Biletnikoff. Nobody was talking about Hendon Hooker being a top 3 NFL draft pick before he popped that season in 2022 where they scored 100 points a game. Like, he's a guy that gets the most out of what he has, and then when he has different personnel in any given year, he's going to adapt to that. Like Joe Milton and what he was and how that offense was run was different than how Hendon Hooker was called the offense for, and different for Nico Iamaleava. Like, I think he's a coach now that has adapted his roster and built his roster to a point now where they can find ways to win differently, and I expect that to be no different here in 2025. What I think the staple will be for the offense, though, is they're going to run the gosh darn football, man. We say this a lot. The billboard for Tennessee football in the minds of college football fans is explosive splash plays, 2022, the highlight clip of Jalen Hyatt scoring 1 million touchdowns against Alabama. But in reality, it's a run-the-football kind of offense. They ran the ball for right around 200 yards a game the last 2 seasons. I understand different pieces, but how they scheme it up with the wide splits and forcing a light box for the defense, I think they're going to be right in that range yet again here in 2025. So the question then becomes, you talk about the ceiling for Tennessee offensively, can Joey Aguilar be consistent, cut down on turnovers, get dialed into the offense from a tempo perspective to run the offense and to drive the car, to use the metaphor? Okay, big part of it. The other part of it is, can your young wide receivers step up and win the matchups when you get a one-on-one? Because that was why Tennessee was so freaking lethal in 2022. Yes, Josh Heupel is just going to scheme some dudes open. Like, y'all, I haven't played college football, never played in the SEC. I haven't played college football in, gosh, I'm going to age myself here. 6 years, 7 years, give or take a few years there? He could scheme me open tomorrow, dude. We could scheme me up a few receptions in an SEC football game. But when he schemes up a one-on-one matchup, can Travis Smith, the young freshman they've been excited about during the spring, can he go win a deep ball and go score a touchdown for Tennessee because you got that one-on-one matchup for him? Can Chris Brazzell elevate and be the version of what he was billed as when he transferred over from Tulane, the explosive playmaker he was? If they can do that, watch out. Now, defensively, your question is, how good do you need to be? Because I think asking them to be a top 5 unit in college football, again, from what they were last year, it's not impossible, but I think it's probably a tall task. The defense is still going to be very strong, though. All right, they're still deep on the defensive line, even if they weren't as deep as they were a year ago. You lose James Pierce, who's a first-round draft pick, never a good thing, but you're still solid up front. A lot of veterans in the starting 11. You go through those those depth charts, and like you see a lot of senior, junior, senior. Boo Carter, who's going to be a sophomore and played some for you last year. Like there's a lot of familiar faces, a lot of guys that have played college football before, and I think that'll bode well. Also, let's call a spade here, man. Coach Banks is going to dial it up. I think his system and his way of doing things is going to, or how solid that already is and how installed that is internally in Knoxville is going to yield dividends in a positive manner for Tennessee. Can you establish your identity early, though, on both sides of the football? Because, like, you look at what Tennessee has on deck, man. Syracuse game 1, which if you know this show, we are high on Steve Angeli and we are high on Fran Brown and the Dart way of doing things. Not going to be a cakewalk. Don't care what that spread says. And then game 3, you got Georgia. So talk about getting under the heavy bar for Tennessee. Regardless of what you think about Syracuse, you play Georgia early, you better be ready to rock and roll, okay? From that game, whether you play well and win the game or lose Georgia close or whatever, success or failure, how do you handle that first month of the season? Do you use it as a tool to essentially get you better for October for when you go to Alabama and when you finish the season in November? Like all of that, do you use your schedule to your advantage? And how early is this Tennessee team finding their identity to go reach their potential in 2025? Now, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this before we get out of here. I think Nico leaving Tennessee, there's no positive way to spin losing your quarterback that started a college football playoff game for you and got you to the college football playoff, regardless of how you feel about the load he carried. But I do think that anytime you have someone in a visible position leave your program, coach, player, whoever, but especially the way that Nico did it, I think it just crystallizes what you're about. Like Nico leaving, I think everyone in that locker room at that point in time had a check to say, you know what? This is who we are. Nobody's bigger than the team. Josh Heupel said it. No one's bigger than the Power T. This is the antithesis of what we are here at Tennessee. This is the exact opposite of what we believe. And when Nico left, too, already you had guys leaving Tennessee for more standard reasons like the NFL draft. But when he left, I think the perspective around Tennessee, they kind of flipped a little bit more into, I don't want to say underdog mode, but I think they maybe viewed themselves that way. They heard all the talk around, well, they lost starting quarterback. Do we lower expectations for Tennessee? I'll say this. A tight locker room is a powerful thing. And I think Nico leaving only tightened that locker room. And I think that's going to be a positive thing for Tennessee in 2025 with how they play in the margins. Fourth quarter, games on the line, fourth and goal, 4th and 1, whatever. Sometimes the tight locker room, the closer team, the team with a little bit more edge to them, when it's close from a talent perspective, sometimes that makes the difference. Sounds cliche, sounds like I'm talking about stuff of, like the Hollywood movies. I'm just saying that matters in college football. It's tough to quantify, and I think Tennessee, with Nico leaving, now has more of that. But in the comment section, let me know your thoughts. What's your record prediction for Tennessee here next season? Excited to hear from y'all, man. For Caden Smith, the ones and twos, myself, Judy PicKell, appreciate y'all, love y'all. We'll keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.